32 teams, 16 shows, formatted by Week 17 matchup. This is episode 4, Chicago and Atlanta.
Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, how you doing, man? What's been going on with you? How many drafts are you in at this point? I think, what do we have, like 37, 36 days to lock? Like, we're getting close. We just saw the Hall of Fame game a few days ago. It's getting close, man. What are your thoughts? How deep into this are you?
I'm pretty excited, man. About a third of the way, a little over a third of the way in the millie. Finished out one of the 20 maxes. I think I'm really going to be focusing on single entry and the 3 entry max.
Yeah.
At this point, right, like a lot of the reason why I was running the millie was just because there was a bunch of promos and we were winning a lot of tickets. So if they don't keep that up, I'm probably going to go to something that's a little bit you have better odds of winning something pretty decent. So
yeah, some of these contests, I mean, like if you could swing the $44, I mean, if you just look at the payout structure, you look at kind of what you're dealing with in week 17, I think you're going against 30 people. That obviously is going to change your strategy in those specific contests. But like some of these contests, besides the $10, obviously I'm going to max that out. But I really want to focus on getting some of these other better payout structures where you're not going up against 1.1 million lineups. That's pretty. And look, Chicago. We're doing Chicago Bears versus Atlanta Falcons here. This stack here, just even individually, these teams, to me, there's so much upside on both sides of this, and I think that both of these teams are being a little bit underlooked. There's room for bad seasons, obviously. Like the Falcons could come out and shit the bed again. I don't see it happen. I think they're in a not so good division. They could come out and surprise people. And if they just have an above average season, they don't need to make the fucking Super Bowl. They don't even need to necessarily make the playoffs. But if they could just have an above average season that beats out where their ADP is going, you could, if you're picking the right guys and you're stacking correctly. Maybe I'm just speaking from me personally here because I really hope that both of these teams do well because I'm so overexposed to these teams. And I didn't even do it on purpose. It was just the way that the season started out when I started drafting. First 2 months, I was crushing all these dudes. I had so many of both of these teams. Where are you at on exposure for these teams? I know I'm way overexposed. I realize that. So I'm slightly cutting back, but I'm not completely just saying, no, I'm not picking these guys. Where are you at?
So I wasn't that high early on, really just because I'm skeptical of just, Jesus, why it was so hard for me to say skeptical. I'm skeptical of taking running backs early on. Obviously, I know Bijan is a stud, so it kind of took me a little bit of time to buy into the Falcons. I do have a little bit more Cordero Patterson than I'd like to admit, but I think you'll be able to top me on that.
Yes.
But as of late, man, I've been getting a decent amount of Beyond when I fall into those later picks, and then I don't know. I like getting Kyle Pitts, and I kind of like getting to Drake London. I like the Falcons a lot. And then again on the other side, like a lot of people are getting caught up in DJ Moore and Justin Fields. Like that's where all the hype is. Yeah. But there's still other pieces that we can take, right? Cole Kmet's going pretty late. He just got a 6 extension, right?
Yes.
So like you're gonna play him, like you're gonna need to get him involved in the offense if you're gonna pay him like that.
Yeah.
And then the running backs. I mean, I know Justin Fields is gonna eat into the running back value, and honestly, having a backfield by committee is something we need to talk about here. But like, I love the backs, man. Like, I want Khalil Herbert, I want Dante Foreman.
Yes,
like, I like these guys.
Yeah, and even a guy like Roshan Johnson, we're a little unsure of now. It seemed like he was going higher earlier on. Now he's sort of been backed off. Where's he at? He's last month he was going at 163. Now he's at 174. I think that's mainly because he does have some sort of mild injury. I'm not exactly sure what it is. And reports coming out of camp from Chicago are it's basically a 1A, 1B situation with Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman. To me, Khalil Herbert going around that 115 range, it feels a little high, but at the same time, I think that he can absolutely crush this year, and he can get you quite a few receptions, handful of touchdowns. All right, so let's talk about injuries here, since I just kind of brought that up. there's not really much to talk about. I haven't seen anything concrete where dudes are on the pup list. There's really nobody like sitting out camp because they're nursing an injury. We did talk about Roshan Johnson. I don't know his situation right now. I can't really find a whole lot of information on him. If you guys know, down in the comments, please let us know. And then we got Kyle Pitts, who's recovering from an injury. He seems to be fine. He seems to be practicing. Have you noticed anything else injury wise?
So just real quick on the Roshan Johnson, it like all the reports that I could find are just undisclosed injury. So for all we know, he could have burnt his mouth on a fucking hot pocket at lunch, or got kicked in the balls during practice, or like he could have strained his calf. Like we don't actually know.
Yeah.
I expect them to be. I expect the Bears to be kind of cautious with him. I mean, he's from what we've seen in camp, he's been one of the best blocking backs that they have. So, I really think that he's going to be on the field. So I think they're just being cautious.
Yeah.
I think that was really the only injury, right?
There's a reason why we're
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, but we all know, we know the risks there. But his ADP kind of reflects that. I mean, yes, it would be a little bit of a risk to grab a dude in the seventh round who doesn't play much, obviously. But in previous years he was going in the top couple rounds. So now that he's going way later, it does feel like you can risk getting to him a little bit more than you usually would, because people are kind of low on him. So I think that he can overachieve his ADP this year as opposed to previous years where he had to have record-breaking seasons just to be in that category. All right, so let's look at narratives here. So obviously we have DJ Moore coming over to Chicago. That's kind of a big deal. I've been super high on DJ Moore and Fields since the very beginning of drafting. To me, it just feels like DJ Moore just feels like an incredible grab from them, and pairing those two dudes together is not that hard. It depends on what pick you're at, but you kind of got to get in the right. What is it? Maybe you're in like 6, 7, 8 range or something like that, to where your picks aren't too spread apart, because Fields is going 44 and Justin Fields is going 44. DJ Moore is going around 49 or 50. So you can grab, back-to-back picks potentially. I've been getting to less of Fields just because, somebody will reach for more when I can pick Fields. And you don't have to just get Fields and DJ Moore together. Obviously, you can kind of even just go naked with Fields up until, maybe you get Bijan Robinson and then you pair him up with Fields on the other side. Something like that. And then you could stack these Chicago dudes later. There's a ton of dudes to stack him with. You stack him with, obviously, Khalil Herbert. You can get to Cole Kmet. There's plenty of dudes. Even a guy like Chase Claypool way later. Even Robert Tonyan as like a absolute, like, holy shit, I need a tight end situation. You could do that. Where are you coming in? Well, okay, let's talk more narrative. Sorry, I'm getting off course here going into breakdowns. We'll talk about that in a minute. What other narratives have you seen going into this season? Obviously, it's now you got Drake London along with Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder's the guy this year. What do you think Desmond Ridder's outlook on this season is? Like, can he have just like an above average season? Where are we at? Is he a good rushing quarterback? What are your thoughts on him?
So Desmond Ridder is an interesting one. I think he's the only player in all of camp so far that hasn't looked spectacular, right? Like, he's the only one I've ever actually seen like a negative report on for Twitter. He's just missing throws out there, which to me probably isn't all that concerning, right? So I think he's going to be fine, man. I think he has a lot of weapons in that offense to kind of do well. And honestly, I'm hoping he does, because I've just been ending up with a lot more Kyle Pitts and Drake London than I was kind of anticipating early on. And it's so easy to take him, Desmond Ridder, to stack with him around 170 ADP or wherever he's at. So and again, like we were kind of talking about it with the Packers, right? I kind of like this season, right? You can go get Jordan Love, you can go get Desmond Ridder, you can and then if you want, like, you can even try and guess who's going to win, Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, right? These are all late round quarterbacks you can get to stack with some pretty elite offenses. So like that's why I've been shying a little bit more from the elite quarterback builds as well. Now, one of the narratives on the other side that I think we got to pay attention to is how DJ Moore is going to impact like the other wide receivers. Darnell Mooney was supposed to be wide receiver 1 last year. We saw how that worked out. They had to trade away for Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Chase Claypool didn't have any time to get familiar with the offense. He was coming from a pretty weird situation with whatever was going on with him in Pittsburgh. So like I think DJ Moore, even if he doesn't have a crushing season, I think this is a season that we can be looking at Darnell Mooney, because the dude's free in ADP at this point, right? Like he's in a weird range. Like, do you want to reach for a tight end, or do you want to have a wide receiver upside that he could be the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 on the team from a fantasy perspective, right?
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of later guys that you can take outside of DJ Moore that I think just his presence there is going to kind of help.
Yeah.
So I like the Bears offense, man. I like the Falcons offense a lot. I think this is gonna be a fun breakdown.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, I'm getting to a ton of them. So let's actually get into this breakdown. We'll talk about their specific ADPs and strategies. If you get Bijan or if you get Justin Fields, where do you go from there? Let's get into this. Break it down. All right, so Bijan, he's kind of been up and down a little bit. Like, generally he's going right around the end of the first round there. I've seen him be taken in the top 5. I've seen him be taken 15 overall. Kind of depends on what part of the season we're talking about here, but generally speaking, you're probably going to be able to get him at the end of that first round. If he's waiting there for me, I usually take him because he's got that pass catching upside, man. And he's made a couple catches, he made a couple plays in camp that have sort of propelled him, like a couple picks here and there. But to me, if he's there, I'm not going to skip him unless there's some stack that I know I can get to. I don't know, but Bijan Robinson to me at 10 is a nice pick, and I don't see why people are avoiding him. I get he's a running back, but this Arthur Smith offense, man, everybody's going to get involved, right? I have some slides here to show here in a second, but thoughts on Bijan, and when you get Bijan, what are you thinking? Are you immediately going, all right, let's try to get Fields, let's try to get Pitts? Where are you going, knowing that you got Desmond Ridder way in round like 17 or 18 to pair with him if you need to?
So I'm gonna refer to him as B-Rob from here on out. Well, that's not gonna work. Never mind. Bijan. I'll get his name. Look, I like him, man. I think you're fine taking him. I honestly, I might like him more than Austin Eckler, right? Like, he's a physical back. He's younger, and this dude's getting paid $12 million a year. Like, he's a top 5 paid running back in the NFL now, right?
Yeah.
So like Arthur Smith is going to use him. And when you get to those slides, I think you'll see that like Arthur Smith is just going to fucking run the ball. So I like Bijan Robinson. I mean, look at this. They're going to run play action. They're going to run zone rush. Like, that's what we're going to see pretty much out of this offense. So, yeah. Look, man, I think we're kind of alluding it to, like, there's been jokes about them running 41 personnel, having 4 running backs on the field or whatever. Like Cordell Patterson's listed as a wide receiver or as a running back, right?
Yeah.
You got Tyler Algier. Would you say he had over 1,000 rushing yards last year?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. We know Bijan is going to be on the field. We know he's going to be lined up at wide receiver. So he's got a lot of PPR upside, but I don't think I'm breaking any news by saying that.
Yeah. So you sent me this tweet earlier. Arthur Smith called the second highest rate of 21 personnel and the 4th highest rate of 22 personnel. We're going to see plenty of multiple running backs on the field. Good, because they got Algier, they got Robinson, they've got Cordell Patterson, who to me is Cordell Patterson is the wild card. They're going to use him at wide receiver. They're going to use him in the backfield, the fucking direct snap to him. Who knows what's going to happen? They're going to get crazy this year with these guys. And I think you can just pile on a lot of these dudes into your lineups. Even if you don't even get to the quarterbacks here, you can get 3 or 4 Atlanta guys. Shit, you can get three Atlanta running backs at this point because they run the ball a ton. We know that. Hang on, there's one more tweet here. Arthur Smith was asked a question about wide receivers and what he's seen from the group in camp. He added before answering, our skill group can put running backs and tight ends in there too. So it's just all wild card positions to me. And I really do think that all these guys are up for grabs. All right, so Justin Fields, DJ Moore, we talked a little bit about that pairing. It's a nice pairing. If you can get Fields and then somebody snipes you on Moore, that's fine. You could even reach a little bit and just grab Drake London as a run back there. Talk about some of these middle, these round 4, round 3, round 5 guys. Drake London to me is a guy that I'm always just getting to. He's either falling or he's right there in position, and I just swoop him up every time. It's risky, but you're talking about, what is he, 21 years old, his second year. This is a perfect opportunity for him to have a breakout season. And a dude who's going at 53 ADP could be, I know this is a little crazy, but maybe he's a top 10, top 15 type pass catcher this year. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, man. So like, let's start with Justin Fields. I think one thing that people are getting caught up on is if they don't think they're able to get DJ Moore, they might be passing up on him. I want to be very clear about Justin Fields. You can just have naked Justin Fields. If you don't want to get any one of these other dudes that that you probably will be able to get in the later rounds, you're fine just taking Justin Fields. So like,
Yeah.
I like him just as a naked running back, or naked quarterback, right? He's going to run the ball a lot, so he's fine. I like stacking with DJ Moore. I'm still not 100% sold on him. I'm going to be lighter on Moore than I was last year. I was burned a little bit just constantly trying to play him. I thought Sam Darnold was going to be able to make it work with him in Carolina. God, was I wrong? But we'll see how it works out. But I really agree with you on Drake London. The thing with Drake London is by the time you get to this, also, like, and maybe this logic applies to DJ Moore too, and we don't need to overthink it, or I shouldn't overthink it, but like, the way that I'm drafting, this is the fourth, maybe fifth round, right? So like, I'm at 3 wide receivers at this point. So Drake London is going to be my wide receiver 4. So even if he struggles, from game to game, or if occasionally, I'm not going to be in a bad spot. And he's a guy that I like taking a risk on, right? So if we, I mean, DJ Moore, right? Like, who does he have surrounding him? He has Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney, right? Drake London has Kyle Pitts. He's got Bijan
Yeah.
Robinson. He's got Cordero Patterson. There's a lot more athleticism that can open up better looks for Drake, I think. So I think he's great, man. I've been getting a lot of him. I think you kind of just got to decide. Like, I think what is it? Terry McLaurin is also in that range.
Yeah, he is.
So
He
you do
is.
have some other elite wide receivers you have to decide with similar quarterback talent, right? Sam Howell and Desmond Ritter are pretty much the same fucking person. So we don't know what that looks like. So I think you want to balance out your exposure. But this is a fun game, man. I think this is going to be this probably be in the dome. This is at Atlanta.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Or
So
wait, is
I
it?
mean, this is going to shoot.
Hang on a second. We got to figure this out here.
Yeah.
Talk about. I'll look that up. I thought it was, but I could be wrong. Hang on.
No, it's cool. I'll talk about Kyle Pitts, man.
Yeah, talk about Kyle Pitts. Let me pull this up real quick.
So Kyle Pitts is another interesting one, right? He was going pretty high last year in his rookie season for in ADP, and earlier on that was kind of impacting me. It's like, well, man, I don't want to spend this draft capital on Kyle Pitts. Then it clicked, registered, right? Like, he's not as expensive as he was, and in this range right here, it's that argument that I just had with DJ Moore and Drake London, right? You have Darren Waller, right? Darren Waller is similar to Kyle Pitts. I like him a little bit better just because he is going to be the best offensive talent on that team, on the Giants, outside of Saquon. But Kyle Pitts, if he's getting single coverage because of all this other stuff around him, he is athletic enough to have a breakout season. So I'm getting more of him, man. And again, because of the flexibility you have on the back end, you can go, rounds 18, 19, and 20. If you don't necessarily trust Kyle Pitts, you can go get Hunter Henry, some of these other tight ends that are out there for pretty much free. Luke Musgrave, whatever it is. So I like Kyle Pitts a lot. And in that ADP, like, I don't think you're making a terrible decision risking a little bit of a pick on him here.
So it's in Chicago. December 31st in Chicago. So yes, not nearly as an appealing. If it was the other way around, this would probably be a much more popular stack. But to me, it doesn't really affect things that much because of the amount of running backs that are on the table for both of these teams
that we like. Love all these running backs.
Exactly. So to me, it's not like, DJ Moore in a 10-degree weather game. Probably not, maybe not ideal, but I still think he can have a hell of a season. I'm not going to just be like, oh, week 17, it's a bad matchup, I'm not drafting DJ Moore. That's not how we're rolling. And usually to me, this is usually my second or third stack. Because if I get Bijan or if I get Fields, I'm usually getting another dude, in the 10th round or so maybe this isn't my main stack all the time, especially if I'm getting Ritter. If I'm getting Ritter, that means I'm probably getting other dudes, either an elite guy or one of these, Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence type situations. So it's just a stack that you can grab at the back end, and just because the weather's bad isn't stopping me from grabbing these teams. All right, so Cole Kmet, Khalil Herbert, like we've talked a lot about a lot of these dudes already. One guy I want to talk about is Jonnu Smith. Now, you can get this guy for free at the end of the draft. We all see where everybody's going in that last pick. They're trying to complete their stacks. If you got Desmond Ridder and you're looking for another dude, and shit, even if you don't have Desmond Ridder, Jonnu Smith to me is a guy that can be on the field a lot. And if you're concerned about Kyle Pitts and his injury history, these guys are like the same type dudes. Like Jonnu Smith to me is like he's underachieved lately, but I still think he's got a little bit in the tank. And they're not going to just keep him out there to block. They want to pass to this dude. And he's going at 232 ADP right now. Thoughts on Jonnu, and then talk a little bit about like Mac Hollins as a number 2 wide receiver, and maybe even a Scotty Miller at the end of the round.
Well, yeah, we'll start with Johnny Smith. Look, he's free. So if you have any questions about Kyle Pitts, any potential injury concerns, I don't see why you wouldn't take him in round 20 just as a flyer, right? He has 1-2 touchdown game. If Kyle Pitts misses the first 2 weeks of the season, even if they just run 22 personnel, right? Like they have 2 tight ends in the field, Johnny Smith is probably going to be the other tight end. So again, round 20, he's free. And then Mac Hollins is interesting. Like he's a grown ass man. He looks like he's been working out
huge.
or something.
Doesn't
like
use forks.
Yeah, right. Like he doesn't use forks, right? The shit's crazy. Like the tweets that are coming out about him. But again, he's free. 223 ADP. You want to take flyers on these guys? Like these are the things. This is the area you got to be willing to risk, right? You don't want all of your lineups that you started off with Bijan Robinson to end up with the same guys on the back end. Right, sprinkle in some of these other flyers. Another guy I like is Tyler Scott. Right, like he's a rookie that they picked up, they drafted, and he seemed to have a little bit of a connection with Justin Fields. But again, like you're not doing anything wrong by taking any of these guys because all these guys are free in ADP.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And one last thing to talk about here is previous shows that we've done, like we did the Vikings show. And we talk Vikings and Green Bay. We talked a lot about, okay, you pull certain levers, you draft certain guys early on, it's going to kind of change your strategy for the rest of the draft. In this situation, I think that a lot of these guys are good one-offs. You could pretty much stack either of these teams at any time. Obviously, if you're getting Justin Fields in that 4th round, that's going to kind of change things. But even if you don't get to any of these top-end guys, you're still able to start to back end stack a lot of these teams with run backs. I don't think it's necessarily as important to start thinking about your Chicago and Atlanta stacks early on. They'll usually fall to you, and you could usually fill in a lot of this stuff at the end of the draft. Any other thoughts on strategies here before we move on to some of the lineups that we've drafted?
Yeah, the one thing I do want to point out is, like, if you notice, there's not many wild swings when it comes to ADP here. Now, if there are some movement, or there's some injury or something like that, then we can expect something. But right now, because of the lack of movement, like, it might be worth considering if you have a decent amount of Tyler Algier, just taking somebody else in that range, right? Like, these are kind of anchored positions at this point, and I doubt we're going to see much movement on their ADP overall.
Look, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier together, who cares? Even look, I don't know that I'm getting this crazy. I'm not going out of my way to do this, but like getting all 3 Atlanta running backs, I don't care because they're so spread out. They're all, and especially Cordero Patterson is basically free. Like if you want to get a little weird stack going on there, who like that is nice to me. I don't mind that at all. And then even run it back with a couple running backs from Chicago on the other end. All right, so let's look at a couple lineups that I've drafted here. So it might be a little bit hard to see here, but this is a weird one. I got Desmond Ridder, so I got Burrow, elite quarterback in round 4. Then I got Desmond Ridder at the end, and I was like, shit, man, I need another quarterback. This is not something I do often, but I grabbed Taylor Heineke there at the very end, just as an additional option, just in case Desmond Ridder sucks ass or gets messed up, and you get a couple starts at a Taylor Heineke. But here I've got a Cincinnati stack, and then I got an Atlanta stack basically with the Chicago run back. I ended up with Darnell Mooney and Deontay Foreman, with Kyle Pitts. Let's see, who did I get here? Atlanta, Kyle Pitts, Ridder, Patterson. So This is not one of my favorite lineups, but what jumps out to you here about this?
I like it, man. Like, I think you can see taking kind of tight end, running back, quarterback, how it impacts your wide receiver comfortability as you go on.
Yeah,
But at the same time, right? I kind of like the correlation that you've got. You got Drake London, Darnell Mooney. I think Darnell Mooney's going to outperform his ADP a little bit this year, man. I really do think he's being slept on. But overall, like I like it. I like Dante Foreman too. 1A, 1B. You get that backfield right. I think it's going to be really beneficial to your overall success in the season.
absolutely. Here's another one here. I got Chicago. This is a Justin Fields lineup. I ended up with two quarterbacks here, Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson. So this is boom or bust type of builds. This was definitely a $10 million entry here. But you got Fields, Kyle Pitts as the run back. You got Cole Kmet. Who else did I get from Chicago? Chase Claypool there in the 18th round. So this in this particular lineup, Justin Fields, this is kind of my main stack, and then you've got a Anthony Richardson. I didn't get any Vegas run back. To me, it's kind of hard with Vegas because at a certain point, if you don't have any Vegas guys, people are going to start reaching for Jacoby Myers and who's the tight end? Why am I blanking on the tight end's name? The rookie Michael Mayer. You're going to start, so you can kind of get sniped from a lot of these Vegas guys. That's a whole nother show. So I got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, obviously didn't get to Burrow here. Burrow didn't fall to me at that 47, but I ended up just taking Justin Fields, and I turned right back around and got DJ Moore, which was nice. All right, so one more lineup here, and then we'll run. Let's see. I've got Chicago, Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, and Khalil Herbert. And I got a run back with Drake London. And who else? Kyle Pitts. Easy. Like, these stacks are just, if you want them and they're there for you, just grab them. Like, they're super easy to get to. Thoughts on, this is a 3-quarterback build. I've been trying to do a lot of 3-quarterback builds lately. Earlier in the year, I was getting to more elite quarterbacks, like, in that first couple rounds. And I'm comfortable. Like, if Mahomes is injured and I'm relying on my second and third quarterbacks, my season's probably screwed. So I'm okay with getting some two quarterbacks every now and then. But I've been trying to get into a lot more 3 quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I've been doing a lot of 3-quarterback myself, and it's actually ended up more in punt quarterback situations. Like, I'm not getting any quarterbacks to like round 15. Like, I've really been on Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, like Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, some of those guys.
Yeah. All right, so some final thoughts here, man. Like, I know we talked a lot about these teams. There's a lot of question marks. This is just, for me, there's some bias here. I'm really banking on either of these teams, hopefully both, to have an above average season. What are your overall thoughts on, if you don't have exposure to these teams and you're listening, is this something that you're going to prioritize to try to get these teams and these stacks? Or if you had to get a certain guy or a couple guys, where are you going? Like, who's your priority here?
I mean, look, I'm going to prioritize as much Atlanta as I can get. Just, they're fun for one-offs. You can do team stack if you want to keep it just to Atlanta, that's fine. But they have very high upside in their offense. And then I don't know if you need to go out there and target necessarily people from Chicago, but they really are comfortable filler pieces. And there was one last thing that I did want to bring up, and just to keep an eye on. We didn't really talk about it much in the running backs, but keep an eye on Travis Homer and what the Bears decide to do with their 4th running back situation. He's supposed to return kicks and punts, but like they're not going to carry 4 running backs into the regular season, I don't think, unless they're going to cut down somewhere else. So that will matter. If they decide to cut one of the 4 running backs, it's just going to drive ADP up for the other 3. So it's something that you can kind of take advantage of now. I doubt it's going to be Homer that stays with the team, but again, I don't have too strong of a take on that.
If they keep Homer, that means maybe Roshan is either not healthy enough or they're not maybe comfortable with giving him a lot of playing time in his rookie year. Maybe they're going to ease him into it. I mean, I don't think it's anything it's not going to really change anything. I mean, we just spent 2 minutes talking about Travis Homer. It's probably 2 minutes too much, but it's worth mentioning. All right, guys. So we're going to our next show is going to be Arizona and Philly, and we'll probably bust that out. This is Saturday. We'll maybe do that Monday or something, maybe Tuesday. Later on tonight, we are doing a way too early first look at that first showdown slate with Detroit and KC. That's going to be a fun show, so keep an eye out for that. And go ahead and throw us a like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. Get us to 20 likes on this video. The YouTube algorithm hasn't liked us because we took a month off or so for the summer. Help us out. Throw us a like. Throw it up on a TV or something, or on your computer while you're out running around doing errands. We really appreciate that. We'll talk to you in a few days.